Hi, welcome back. I hope you're enjoying your Easter. Um, we're off on Easter break at the moment. So let's get cracking into this and not crack too many bad yolks about eggs. Ha ha ha. All right, I'll stop now. Okay. So we've been working on the hook up to this point. We've got our foundation sketch. We're going to use a lot of stuff out of that sketch to be able to generate our loft. We've then put in these three work planes. So these work planes, when I look at this, I'm going to have a circle up here, an interesting shape down here, back to a circle, and it's going to loft a shape between those three planes, and it's going to use this inner rail and outer rail as a guideline of where it needs to flow or move, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's get into this fairly promptly. Okay, this top profile. There's a few points that I particularly want to use in the sketch to make sure that my profile, so the profile, the shape on the top here, matches exactly with the start of the rail and the center point and everything so that it works. This is why I've had the best success with it. Using this point tool, I can identify particular points. So I need the outside edge of my circle to sit bang on that point there, and I also, so you need to click on this each time, I need it to sit right in the center. So make sure you pick up that center point of that line, or that midpoint of that line. Okay, and it's going to put them over here, so I need to name them. As you move your cursor over each of the work points in the modeling bar, it's going to show you with a white dot out here. Likewise, if I identify it out here, it normally puts a little red box around it over there. Okay, so work point 1. I'm going to name that as my inner rail. The inner rail start. Just put a little capital on there. All right, this one up here, I'm going to say, highlight that again. This is my top, meaning top work plane. C for center point. Okay, now to do the sketch. The sketch, I want it to go onto my top work plane. So see it highlighted on the right, and that one there, so just turn around so I'm looking at it. I need to project in my 2 points that I want to use, and now I can draw my circle. My circle starts on, and it picks it up, green dot, and you need to go to green dot. So they are particular points that it has found, and I want to use them. Okay, finish my sketch, and I'm going to call that sketch my top. Make it a capital T-O-P. My top profile. You have to excuse my typing. I'm a 2-finger specialist. To all you young people out there, learn to type properly. It's definitely too late for me. All right, do it before you get old. Not that 44 is old, but you know, it's old enough. All right, here we go. So that's that one done. The next profile down here, it's on a slight angle and it's a different shape. It's not a circle. If we have a look back at our drawing here, the profile we're looking at is this profile here. If we use some projection lines and project across to the front view or side view, whichever way you want to look at it, it's not named. But if we had a projection line running across, the very bottom lines up with the very bottom here. And if you look at the top of the hidden detail, that's that dashed line through the center, to the lowest point of the inner curve, they would both be lining up. All right, so that is the profile, the mid profile. In this view here, it is on a slight angle because you're looking at that top point here, right where the crosshairs are, and the bottom point, we're looking at a point roughly there. So it's on that slight lean back. If I were to measure this height, it's not the correct height. It's not what we refer to as a true length line. The true length line would run from that particular point to this one that's slightly back, and it would be longer than that vertical line here. It has to be because it's going to travel further distance. and that would be our true length line. Not something that's a big problem here. We can turn our plane around and just draw it in. Points of interest for me. Point. I want that point there on the lowest part of the inner curve, and I also want to put a point on the lowest point of the outer curve. Did that go on? No, I don't think it did. Let's have a think what's happening there. We'll try that again. On that point there. There we are. So I've got my two new work points. Quickly label them. Inner rail low, and why didn't that save? Come on. Inner rail low. Try pressing enter, that might help. Okay, and I'm going to go. Whoops. Does outer have two T's? I'm going to go with one T. Outer. That looks better. Outer rail low point. Okay. Now, where am I doing this sketch? On my mid plane. I'm just going to turn it so I'm looking straight at my mid plane. Projecting in things that I want to use that inner rail low point and the outer rail low point. So we can see they've come in as nice big plus points over there for me. Now we're doing an arc. So just as a reminder, look, we're using the center point arc. I'm going to put it about there for the moment. And I know if you have a look back at the drawing, that has a radius of 38 millimeters. Yep. Whiz that one across. Now, because we're looking at it from the side here, I don't quite understand why, because vertical is still vertical and horizontal is still horizontal. But for whatever reason, these are operating back to front now. For example, if I say I want to do a vertical constraint, it's going to turn into horizontal. The yellow line's poking out to the side. I'm going to suggest you always pick the one you think it should be, and hey, look, if it works, fantastic. If not, well, just use the one that does work. Now, I'm lining up the center of the arc so that it is over its center point. And that way, you're always going to have an equal overhang from each side. In other words, it's symmetrical. It's going to keep its symmetry. Yeah? Now, to put this arc in the correct place, so its peak needs to sit at the top of the inner rail. So I can pick up that point and it puts it in place. All the centers line up. Happy days. The next one at the bottom, it has a radius of 6 millimeters. 6, enter, whiz it around. I'm going to use the same process. I want to line up the center of the arc with its center point, and then I want to do a coincident constraint and move the lowest point of the arc to the lowest point of the rail. The rest of it's pretty easy. I'm just drawing a line that goes from endpoint to endpoint on both sides. Endpoint to endpoint, there we go. These need to be tangential at the bottom. Tangent, please. There we go. That line and that arc need to be tangential to one another. And it will have done that for both sides because of the symmetry between the two sides of the arc, and also the symmetry of up here. It hasn't locked up yet because it doesn't know how wide this arc needs to be at the top. If I have a look at my drawing, I know it needs to be 38 millimeters wide because it tells me, hey, look, the hook is 38 millimeters wide. That continues down till it gets to this midpoint, and then it starts to taper into the point of the hook, or the tip of the hook. Yeah. So at this point, we can say, hey, look, the width of my mid profile, 38. Yep. The only last thing I'm going to put in is, again, if I have a quick flick back here, it's identifying that there's a radius of 6 millimeters in here. So I'm going to, let's go back there, put in a fillet of 6. So radius of 6. One there, come on, click, and one here. Job done. Finish that sketch off. So that sketch is my mid profile. I'll put a capital there. I guess strictly, technically, I should probably have it all in capitals, but not today. Okay, next, this profile up here, important points. I want that center point, and I want the inner rail end point. Inner rail. Inner rail end. And I also want the we'll call this one the end, C for center, point. So it reflects what we call the one at the top. We're going to put a sketch onto that final end plane. Sketch on that end. I click on the icon, not the writing, please. There we go. What have I got to put in? I need to project in the inner. What happened to that end one? That's the end. Oh, I'll put it up here. It's that point. Wonder why it's moved that up there. Not a big problem. So I've got those 2 points. This one's just a straight up circle. Green dot to green dot. It's telling me I've found endpoints. Finish that sketch. It's in. And I can name this sketch as my that's better. The end profile. Okay, so do I need to see all of these things anymore? Do they need to be visible? Answer is no, I don't need them anymore, including the I can probably grab that and put it back down here. Look at that. Look, I don't need to see these work planes, and I don't need to see all of these points I put in. So you can go through and right mouse click on the icon and turn off the visibility of each of those, including all of the points. It'll just help tidy up your sketch. It'll make it a little bit easier. What we do need to see, most importantly, are those profile sketches that we've just created. Come on, there we go. All of those. So I've got my foundation one there and my end profile one. That's the profiles done that it's going to move through. In my next video, we're going to look at actually setting up the 2 rails properly. At the moment, it's still just a foundation sketch. I want to take it off my foundation sketch and put it into another 2 sketches, one for each rail. Okay, that's quite important for when we're doing the loft, which will come up very soon. So have a go at all of that. Try not to eat too many Easter eggs and get a big sugar rush and do crazy things, and have a good time. So see you later.